What's up? This is Casey from Casey's Customs. In this series, I am building a hot rod for under $3,500. In this video, we remake our hood and fenders so that they're fitting a lot better, and we also go over the budget. Let's get going. Before we get started here today, I have a question for the audience. Should we chop this, yes or no? Ever since I started the build, I said I was going to chop it. I love them chopped. I've chopped a bunch of these. I think they look great. The reason I bring it up is because I've had dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of people say, please don't chop it. It looks perfect the way it is. I want to know what you guys think. Normally, I don't really care what somebody says about my build, but in these cases, I'm basically just building this for YouTube. So whatever you guys think kind of matters in a build like this, especially since we will give it away at the end, just like we did the last YouTube build. So comment on here. I'm going to try and figure out if I can do a vote or a poll somehow. I don't know if I can do it on YouTube. I know I can do it on Instagram and Facebook, but I do want to see on here. So leave a comment what you think, and I'm going to go through and kind of just tally them up and see what people are thinking, because it does matter to me what the audience wants. Let's get on with the show. Today we are working on the $3,500 hot rod budget build. In this video, I'm going to try and fix the gaps in the hood. Right now the hood is fitting as bad as any hood has ever fit any car ever. And the way I'm going to do it, you can tell how big the gap is. Also, we took a lot of the structure out of the hood, so it's just kind of floppy. What I'm going to do is we need to re-put some structure back in, and we also need to fix how bad these gaps are. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. The best way I've found to do it is to just add to your hood and butt it up against your fender so you have a nice tight gap. The way to do that is I need a 90-degree bent piece of sheet metal that will act as my new lip on the hood and the fender. And I need it to be the entire length of the hood, which is like 7 foot, and I don't have a 7-foot press. So what I did last week was I called my local sheet metal shop, had them cut up some 1-inch strips and then put a bend in them. So I basically have a piece of 1-inch angle iron made out of sheet metal, and we're gonna go get those now. They're actually done. We're gonna go pick those up, and then we'll try and figure out how we're going to attach them. Funny story. St. Joe still has brick roads. That's one funny story. Second funny story is it's cold as hell, and today's probably the first day I need heat in my truck, and just realized it's not working. So we have to figure that out later today. Booyah, we got it, baby. It's 18 gauge. That will be a perfect edge for our hood and fenders. The sheet metal they have comes in 10-foot sections, so I just went ahead and had them make a 10-foot section. I'm obviously going to cut this down to like a 6-foot piece, and what we'll do is we will start fitting it so that we get a nice tight gap, and I'll end up making a cut here so that we can get them sat on the hood and then welded. And hopefully we can just get this really nice gap and make everything fit the way it should. And that should add a lot of structure to the hood because it is a bent piece. When we come up here with this curve, I got to do some reshaping because the hood is not fitting this curve very well at all. But we're going to cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now we're going to cut this piece of angle iron, and then I'm going to probably go ahead and start putting some shape in it. I have a shrinker and stretcher over there. If anybody's never seen one of these, I'll kind of show you how they work. But you put a piece of metal in there, and then whether you're shrinking it or stretching it, it basically grabs it, the piece of metal with teeth, and then pushes it together. It only does it like a millimeter at a time, but if you do that enough, you'll get a nice gradual curve. Or if you're using the stretching side, it actually opens it up a little bit, and you'll get a gradual curve the other way. So let's get these cut and start figuring out what the hell we're going to do with all this shit. Okay, so I have my fender brace in there across the hood, so that's actually really strong now. Nothing is wiggling. I also welded in braces inside the hood. They're the factory ones, but they were cut loose. And now that I know the hood is actually sitting where it's gonna sit and we don't have any variables, why is that always so loud? Piece of shit. What I'm gonna do is, this is actually resting on the brace I made. I did it on purpose because I wanted the hood to be able to sit on something. Right now, everything is so wide, it's just falling on itself. Right now, I know it's actually sitting where it's going to be sitting, and then we see our horrible gaps. And also, the front of my hood is actually out a little bit. So what I need to do is I need to come in here. I'm going to strip all the paint off this. I need to come in here and make some relief cuts and let this down a little bit. Because you can see, I'm not so worried about that. I don't care about that because I can make that gap. But what I am worried about is see how it's sticking out. This needs to follow the line of the fenders. And this all got changed whenever we made our new pieces. And also, I pancaked it a little bit because I wanted it a little bit flatter. So what we're going to do, I'm going to strip all this paint off, come in here, make a bunch of relief cuts. And that should just let this come down, and then we'll re-weld it. And then if we have to, if this gap is still bad, I will just make another piece. One of these pieces will work perfect. I will make that for my gap down here. But we're going to do that. And then we can come in here, start making our hood line up with the fender, kind of like that. Yes. I might have just videotaped that last video in slow motion, so that sucks. But what I was showing was on these relief cuts, you can really see how that came down. See how this matches here pretty good? Before I made the cuts, it was out like 3 inches here. So you make those, and then that kind of lets everything come down a little bit. Actually, you can even see it in that molding because that molding isn't changed. I didn't cut the molding, but that gets us a lot closer. We're still probably going to have to do this lip with our pieces of sheet metal. That's okay. We got a mess over here with this hitting this. So I got to do a little bit of extra work on this side, but I'm really happy that that came down because it was way out of whack before, and now it fits pretty damn good. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this shaped up a little bit and then tacked, and once it's up again, we will start on our side pieces. Check it out. Hood is matching. I mean, I have so much metal work to do. It's upsetting. We're not going to talk about it. I basically need to make all new pieces here, but we're going to cry about that tonight. What we need to do now is cut the humps out of our fenders. These have too much of a hump now. Technically, you could go in here and make notches on your hood to give it the humps, but in reality, we've pancaked the hood. It looks great this way. These are they're kind of just not really flowing with it anyway. They kind of have a little too much of that. So I have it marked here. We're going to cut here. We have a good gap here. This is where it starts to get bad, and then it's good again here. So we're going to cut that there, and then we can put our sheet metal piece there to match our hood. And then if this doesn't work, this one side, we will actually put another piece on the hood here. So you'll have two of these. You'll have two of these butted up together like that. One side is your hood, one side is your fender. And that, my friends, is a perfect gap. So that would be the best thing ever that would happen. But hopefully we only have to do one side, but we'll see. You know, you get to cut and shit, and then all of a sudden you got to cut some more shit, and then you got to throw some shit at some shit. But whatever, let's cut some shit. Got the fenders cut. I've been hammering and dolly on them. I'm trying to get them to sit down a little bit, but there's just too much material there, so I'm probably going to have to do a couple relief cuts in these so it will sit down. If you see here, they're still just a little bit too high. They need to flatten out just a little bit more. There's just a lot of material bunched up there, and hammering and dollying it isn't taking care of it. So probably gonna do a couple little relief cuts there, and then we can start fitting this piece and kind of wrap this up. I really like how low everything is looking. It looks absolutely horrible, but it's actually looking great in person as far as like my, you know, shapes and curves and shit. The relief cuts are done, and it is time to start making this piece fit. Now, as you can see, that is a flat piece of metal. That's not gonna work. I keep dropping it. What we're gonna do, we are gonna take it to the shrinker, and we're gonna shrink that edge all along there. And as we shrink it, it'll just slightly start to curve, and then we'll work a curve all the way down the front. It's kind of easier to show than explain. See? It's gonna take that about, you know, 12,000 times, but you can see the curve. Ooh, it's getting close. Gotta do some trimming, but you can kind of see what we're going for now. We'll have a perfect gap that way. Sweet. I'm done today, though.
The next day.
I think I got this side pretty close. We need to trim it a little bit so it will sit down in there. If this damn thing wasn't on a blazer, it would sit in there a lot easier, but some asshole built it on a blazer. Let's trim it and see if we can get it to fit a little better. It's a little too hot for a hoodie today, but luckily it's not too hot for a long sleeve shirt. I happen to just have one right here on the bench. It's a pretty good looking shirt. Luckily it was just laying around. I think you can buy these somewhere. I can't remember where. There's like a side in the description. You click on it. I don't remember what it is, but it's a good looking shirt. Let's throw some shit at some shit. All right, I'm back to work. My bad. I got this kind of fitting. I messed up a little bit. I did something you should never do, and that's overbend. Got a little too much curve in it, and it's actually a bitch to uncurve it. So I gotta do a little bit of hammer and dolly work and hopefully get this fitting a little bit better. And then I just stepped on that and almost died. Luckily, it would have been on camera, insurance. So my gap is looking a lot better though, but once I get this smoothed out, I think we'll be good to hopefully weld. Hopefully we'll do a little more cutting and weld it, have a perfect gap, and we'll move on to the next side. But we'll see if I can't get the unbend part figured out. Check out our gap. Ooh, it's looking pretty good. Got to fill in another little spot here, but I use these sheet metal screws because they pull it tight and they'll also pull it down. So what you can do now, I know exactly where it needs to be. What you can do in there is mark it, cut it, and then on this side, these obviously won't work anymore, but on this side, you can put these sheet metal screws back in that'll pull it tight, and then you can weld it, and you won't be overlapping. You'll actually have it exactly where it needs to be, and it will be butt welded. But I am super happy with that. In case you didn't know, that's what it looked like before. So it's definitely a lot better. And not only will the gap be better, but it's actually stronger now since we're using an actual piece of angle. So really strengthened up this whole fender, and super, super happy about it. I'm gonna go in here, mark this, and cut it. Probably throw a couple tack welds in it, and then move on to this side. I'd love to get everything tacked where it needs to be and have these pieces kind of made up and tack welded in by the end of this episode. That would make me very happy. We still have to deal with our big ass gap down here, but let's throw some tack welds in this and move to the other side. She is tacked and looking good. Come on, bitch. Ooh, I'm pretty happy. I am pretty happy. There is still an ungodly amount of work that needs done, but as far as our actual gaps, they look good. What we're gonna do now is fix the front hood gap. First thing I had to do is make sure the grill was on all the way. It had a couple broken bolts. So I've got the grill where it needed to be and tacked it. What I'm gonna do here, originally I thought I would just cut this all the way off and then just make my own new piece out of the angle. But I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm gonna cut right along here, right along the edge, and then just open it up. I still want this to be my lower edge, and since it didn't need as much as I thought it did, it's actually on there crooked right now, but it didn't need as much as I thought it did. So I think what I can do is just cut here, and then I'll end up putting like a 1-inch strip all the way across the front of it. But let's do that real quick. I got it cut. Now we just got to put it where we want. Probably right there like that. Ow! Okay, why am I doing this while it's hot? That's stupid. Done. I mean, I have a full day of welding and shaping and stuff left, but we got all this stuff cut so that we're actually, you know, butt welding our joints and everything is perfect. I mean, the gaps are actually money. I don't know what the camera picks up. I feel like when I'm shooting it, all the camera picks up is these stitch welds that I need to fix. I'm gonna have to, you know, file and grind them down. But in real life, like, it's just so nice that it's good. I mean, I don't know if maybe Richard can put a side by side, but I mean, we had literal 1-inch gaps, and now I have, I mean, 1/8 of an inch all the way up and down the hood. I am gonna take probably 8 hours of welding and feathering and grinding, and I'll probably actually bring my TIG welder in here so I can just run full beads because the MIG welder, you know, the MIG welds aren't really easy to work with, and also they warp shit. The TIG welder still warps it, but just it's a little bit more controllable. But that's for a different time. I am so happy to get this done. I mean, it's if you like, it's easy to look at the botched up mess right now because of all the cuts, but like if you're looking at the actual like seams and shit, it's fucking perfect. And that might be the most work I've ever had to put in a hood in one of these. It ended up needing quite a bit. And another thing, I pancaked that hood. Pancaked means flattened. I've probably flattened that hood 2 inches. They normally have a big ass bulge in them, which actually I kind of like. It looks cool, but it just didn't look right on this one. I don't know why. So whenever we needed to stretch it, I could have stretched it and kept the bulge, but I thought it would be kind of cooler to lose it. Also be a little bit easier not to have to worry about it. So we're gonna do one more thing. I want to drill the holes for my hood emblem, and we'll go over the budget, and we're gonna call this an episode. Needs adjusted. My hole's a little crooked, but we can fix that whenever we tighten it down. I'm stoked. There we go. That's better. I got it lined up. Sweet. Okay, budget. Haven't been going over the budget as much as I used to. I usually like to go over it every couple episodes. The reason I haven't is because I've only spent about $100 in the last, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months. Well, not that long, month and a half. The only thing I needed was a bunch of fittings, a bunch of random fittings that didn't come with my turbo kit. Some of them were supposed to, some of them weren't. This kit, as all inclusive as it was, it forgot some stuff. I had to get a V-band. You know, those are like $15, and I just had to get a bunch of little bullshit like that. It probably wasn't even 100, but I just kind of rounded up on it. And I will end up going through those and figure out exactly what they are. But for now, just so that we're kind of up to date, I just added 100 on the budget. So budget is $2889.79 of our $3,500 budget. And that is as of October 27th. So we're still kind of on track. We're also not on track at all. But, you know, it is what it is. I think some people think, oh, you got like, you know, $500 left, $600 left. Well, we have a lot of stuff that still needs bought. I know for a fact a windshield is at least $250. I think it is with the rubber and shit. So we got quite a bit of money left that we'll need to spend, but we don't need to right now. I'm calling this an episode. Peace. Love you. Thank you guys very much for watching. This was a ton of metal work, but I'm very happy with how it came out. The fact that my gaps still look really good and everything is fitting the way it should makes me very happy. I have at least a full day's worth of welding and grinding and cutting, you know, making sure that everything's fitting a little bit better. Or I want all my pieces of sheet metal to be butted up. I don't really want anything overlapping, so I have to fix that in a couple spots. But we're going to tackle all that on the next episode. We're also going to try and get this roof smoothed out. Also, please make sure that you vote. Tell me whether we should chop it or not, because like I said earlier in the video, that has been a big question people are wanting to know. A lot of people, I've said I was going to chop it the whole time I built it, but a bunch of people are asking me not to, and I don't always listen to what people want, but in a case like this, where I'm building this car basically just for YouTube, I tend to listen to what you guys say. So let me know what you think about that. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff they tell you at the end of videos, and check out some more of my other videos. Peace!
I cannot really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you.